Hey, it's Bob Filka here for the Friday Finish the week of June 5th. Your HBA leadership team is in Washington, D.C. this week for a series of meetings. We also visited Capitol Hill, and I'm going to turn it over to your 2023 president, Rich Kligman.
Hey everybody, happy Friday. This is Rich Kligman, your current 2023 president for the Home Builders Association of Michigan. You caught me here in Washington, D.C., not storming the Capitol, but we met with 8 congressional leaders today to talk about the transformer shortage, the energy code requirements and a repeal of federal funding that would enforce that, and we talked about the workforce shortage. So I want to thank Bob Filka, obviously our fearless leader, was here. We've had Jason from Midland, Mike from Saginaw, Marcy and Dan from Traverse City, Jeff from Petoskey, myself, and and Don and Lynn Pratt came as well from Southeastern Michigan, and Carol Jones as well from Southeastern. So we had a great turnout, really well represented, and we look forward to some great outcome. Thank you.
So while Bob and leaders of the Home Builders Association of Michigan were in Washington, D.C. this week advocating on your behalf, I was in Lansing watching the wheels of the bus go clunk, clunk, clunk. So today's episode of Friday Finish is going to be a little bit longer because a lot took place. So I would suggest you grab your favorite beverage, sit down, relax, and just have a listen. I'm done predicting when the taxing increment financing bills are going to come out of the Economic Committee in the House, as again, those were the wheels on the bus that went clunk, clunk, clunk this week. Committee was canceled. They were not taken up. House Republicans now have amendments to those bills that we are going through to see if there are anything that we can agree to. So I'm not going to say that I expect them to be up in committee next week and expect them to be voted out, because every time I do, I set myself up for failure. So I would rather be pleasantly surprised when they are, as opposed to aggravated and annoyed when they aren't. So stay tuned on TIF bills. But it wasn't an all flat tires week this week. We were in several committees and conversations on legislation that will impact the housing industry either in a positive or negative way. You may recall I talked and have mentioned the Drain Code Chapter 22 rewrite. Those 2 bills were up in local government and municipal finance this week. We did turn in cards of opposition on both those bills. We have had conversations with Representative Fitzgerald, who is the chair of that committee. We will be testifying, and the chair is giving us 40 minutes next week to give our opposition to the Drain Code rewrite of Chapter 22. So stay tuned on that. Those bills most likely will end up in a work group this summer with no action in committee until the fall. We also opposed Senate Bill 14, which was introduced by Senator McCann. It came out of the Senate already. It was in House Natural Resources, Tourism, and Outdoor Recreation today. And that would allow Michigan to have stricter than federal regulations. We are opposed to that. As you know, housing is already a regulated industry, and to go stricter than federal guidelines, we feel is not a good move for the state of Michigan in general if we're looking to become an economic destination for development. Rounding out our committee appearance was to support House Bill 4375. It was in the Senate committee this week, and what it does is it would allow a city with a certain population to create its own land bank if the county does not have one. We supported that piece of legislation when it was in the House. We're supporting it while it's in the Senate. We also supported Senate Bill 293, which would allow MISHDA to have the flexibility to use funds in the Michigan Housing and Community Development Program to include missing middle housing funding, and so that's a positive for the industry as we move forward. We have had several conversations this week with legislators and department heads, all on housing and the various ways we can work to remove obstacles. With all the conversations on housing and workforce development taking place, really now is the time that you need to engage with your state representative and your state senator. Not asking you to come to Lansing in about 3 weeks. They will all be back home for the summer. And I would encourage you to reach out to them and talk to them about what the obstacles and opportunities are within residential construction. Have your local host a builder roundtable with them. Do a breakfast so you all can come in, have your conversation, go out to the field and do the wonderful work that you all do within the communities and building those houses that are so desperately needed. I'm happy to assist in setting that up and even participate to help guide the conversation with what's taking place in Lansing. And on a couple of last notes, you heard me report over the last several months that the Housing Michigan Coalition had 4 bills signed into law last year. Happy to report that White Cloud is the first city to pass an ordinance on the payment in lieu of taxes legislation that Senator Schmidt was such a great leader on. And so we thank him for that, which means hopefully payment in lieu of taxes programs in White Cloud will begin in the near future. Also, Senator Moss's expansion of the neighborhood enterprise zones became law on June 1st of this year. So if you're looking at expanding and using some NEZs, as long as they're existing infrastructure, that is now a tool you can also use. And as a final note, I hope you will join us for Leaders of the Legislature taking place on June 23rd on Zoom. We are very excited to have Representative Kevin Coleman, who is the chair of the Housing Michigan Subcommittee in the House, and Minority Vice Chair Aragona join us for a robust conversation on all things housing. So I hope you have a great weekend, and let us know if there's any way we can help you.
And that's the Friday finish. Have a great weekend, everybody. Be safe, and we'll see you next week.